Real as it gets, episode 7. I am your host, Callum Hickey. Today with me, I have Whylie Can Lift.
Yes, Callum, thanks for having me on.
So break that down for me. Why am I saying Whylie Can Lift and not the full name?
So, before, originally, it was Whylie Can Squat. And then...
which you can. Which you can.
And then, I started like Olympic lifting and powerlifting, and Whylie Can Lift just became more of a stick as a brand.
Yeah.
So... Chloe Whylie does not have the same ring, and they say usually if you know my government name, you know my my mum, you know my family. But actually, if you know Whylie or Whylie, then you know me.
There you go. That's exactly what I knew as first. So I'm going to talk to you about how I met Chloe originally. So originally, I saw you in gym box a few times. I just saw you slamming weight, Olympic. I think I caught you in your Olympic lifting phase. You've done powerlifting before that, right?
So I'm a hybrid athlete, so I compete in more than one sport.
There you go.
So I still train it all.
Of course, love that. And then we met for a mutual friend, and then I met you at Danielle Lennon's birthday brunch.
That's when we properly
where me and you was going plate for plate. It was all the good food. It was a good vibe, and I was picking your brains from there. And that's when I was like, "Fuck, this girl's work rate is crazy." Because I just met you, but you were telling me some of the projects you was on, some of the ones you planned to do, and I was just like, "Yeah, fucking hell." And it weren't until I'd done more research on you that I wanted to get you on here because your story is incredible. Not just your athlete side of things, but your upbringing. I know you've gone through a lot, and to have you on this podcast is just amazing. I can't wait to share your story with everyone else. So,
ready.
Right. So, first thing I want to say is we'll start from in your fitness journey. What got you into fitness?
Oh, listen, people always ask that question, but honestly, I've always done it. So when I was, football was my first sport at 4 years old. I got older brothers, older male cousins. So as a girl, it was like the first female. It was like, go on, do this. Okay. And I just ripped into it. And, at school, you're either academic or not. Yeah. And I wasn't academic. And I was just not interested at all. And from a very young age, I was very aware of things around me, at school, where the area I was living in, at home. I was just a very aware child, and like fitness was my escapism. So, I'd be in a classroom, and I'm dyslexic, I'd be in a classroom like, I don't know how to spell that. The spelling test, like, I don't care, because when I get to the playground, I'm going to beat you in a race, so what? And that's how it started, and I was just that kid who always did something, and it was just a way of me to express myself, be free, and just feel great at something. Felt like I owned something. I was a very introvert child, very shy, very small, very skinny, and fitness just allowed me to be yourself, to be what you were supposed to be. Exactly. So you started in football, and then where was because like you said, you're a hybrid athlete. Where did it start? Did you go into like powerlifting first, or bodybuilding, or like? So it's more complicated than that.
Well, tell me, we've got time.
Football, and then I got because my cousins teach kickboxing and kung fu, so I did that from the age of 7 up to 17, and a bit of boxing in between. But while I was doing that, my main sport was track and field. So I was to compete for Southwest of England down in Bath.
Fucking hell, you've done everything. Go on, keep going. Go.
So that was my main. So that's where a lot of my a lot of people say when I lift, I'm really fast. So if you see me snatch, I'm pretty fast under the bar. Yeah. So that all comes from like long jump, sprinting. And then I stopped sprinting, about the age of 17. I didn't have the support I needed around me, parental support. I moved out very young, had my own flat at 16. So nice.
I was the same. I was doing that at 18, and it teaches you a lot of independence. Doesn't it,
but also some sacrifices do come, and you don't realise how, by making those sacrifices will affect you later on down the line. So I had to stop doing that. And as you know, I'm into a lot of like acting, spoken words. So I was doing that alongside as part of the National Youth Theatre up in London, and I went on tour. And then when I moved to London at the age of 18, I studied drama and performance studies. And as well as going to drama school, I was like, okay, like what can I do, what I enjoy? Because when I moved to London, it was quick. I had to like get into a job, and it was like a retail job. And listen, I hated it.
Retail was bad. Oh, I think I've seen one of your posts about retail. You was there. Was you full manager?
Yeah. So I was doing that alongside, studying, training normally. Like, so I went to just a bit of like gym training. So I've never stopped like moving.
Yeah.
And then, like my manager was an absolute cow. One day I was like, I can't take this no more. She was like bullying for a lot of reasons we'll go into later. And I just chucked the keys to her and I was like, shut the shop yourself.
Yes.
I was just like, I can't do this. Like, I remember
I fucking hate
walking out the shop.
Any form of bullying. Not fun.
I was walking out Westfield, Shepherd's Bush.
Oh, is that what you was? Yeah.
Okay. And I was just like, oh my God, what am I going to do? What has done? How am I going to pay my bills?
Yeah,
but I just knew.
It must have been scary doing it, though.
Yeah, and I was like, maybe I just turn around and say sorry, just go back, And I was just like, nah, you got to firm this.
So you see, when you first moved into your flat, though, was you broke?
Yeah,
that's a different kind of broke, isn't it? Like when I was 18, 19, I tasted broke once, and it was like, nah, I'll never go back to this. It gives you a hunger.
100%. Like I said, I was 16.
So then leaving that job, you must have thought, imagine I go back there. All these thoughts run through your head, right? And it's just scary.
But when I've always, as a child, I always said, like, I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna be something.
Yeah.
I wasn't gonna stop like my poverty, what I knew. Let that stop me, So. Yeah, I walked out, and I would love to say at that moment in time, I was like, I'm going to be a personal trainer, and like, here we are now, and like the full-time athlete. No, it wasn't like that. I sat at home for about 3 months. The only thing I did was leave to go to the gym. Came back. Was depressed.
Felt low, no? Yeah, it felt really low.
I went into. That's the first time I reckon I felt like depression. I was like, whoa, where am I at? And we won't go into it, but that's because a lot of things happened before, and I never had that time to stop. And I stopped, and then that's when I processed things like the loss I went through. And then I was watching the Commonwealth Games, and weightlifting was on, Olympic lifting,
nice.
And Michaela Breeze and Zoe Smith was battling it out, and I was like, rah, like, like Michaela Breeze just come out of retirement. She's like in her 30s. Yeah. Zoe Smith is a black woman lifting for England. I was like, hang on a minute. I didn't know there was black weightlifters.
I want this. I want that. Yeah.
And number two, I always got told I was too old to go into Olympic lifting because, it's very new now for us to start at a later age.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But when I'm talking about 7 years ago, 8 years ago, this story. But you was always told that you start at the age of like 15, like latest.
Like if you wanted to be sort of professional athlete kind of thing. Yeah.
And I was like, that's sick. I'll never forget that moment. And then, anyway, I went and got a bar job so I can get the money for a deposit to become a personal trainer. I was like, I can do this alongside my acting. I'm only going to do things from now on what I enjoy, what I love.
Yeah.
I cannot be selling my soul no more.
Right.
I got into coaching. And then from that moment, someone was like, you're super strong. And I was like, am I? And then they were like, you should try powerlifting. Literally, no word of lie. 2 months later, went into powerlifting. Was
this at Genesis?
Yes.
Who was you training with? Bulldog?
Yeah. So know Bulldog very well, yeah.
Yeah. So I only know of that gym because there was a guy called Lewis that used to train there as well. Big dude.
Yeah.
I remember seeing a picture of you being spotted by Bulldog, and I was like, fuck, he's been everywhere.
Yeah.
It's sick.
So yeah, they like gave me the push, and literally 2 months later, I did my first comp, IPF at Bethnal Green, won it.
Sick.
Literally 3 months later, went to the British Championships. And then it just started like that. So I didn't get into Olympic lifting until later on, because I just had this fear that, when you go to try something new, you always have this fear like, I'm going to be rubbish. Then I realised, like, of course you're going to be rubbish at first. And then
Who taught you the ropes on Ollie lifting?
Mike Causer down in London Olympic weightlifting.
Okay, yeah.
So he's my first
guy
coach.
That taught Miguel, right?
Yeah. So he's my first coach. And we're still friends and in contact. And then it just went from there, and I still sprint. I still do conditioning.
I love sprinting. I've just took out sprinting myself. It's a good hobby. Yeah.
So I doing all these things at once, and everyone's like, "How do you do it?" It's like, I do calisthenics. Just about managing your program, like, just properly.
Everything. I love it because I see your stories. I'm like, fuck, she's doing dips today. She's doing Ollie lifting. She's squatting heavy. It's nice to see, man.
I think it was like about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, I became English medalist in powerlifting and Olympic lifting the same year, and that's when I was like, yeah, you can do this. Let's go.
Was that while you was working with Jason? as your...
Yeah. Jace,
shout out Jason, he's a G.
yeah. Jace is... Listen, I would never get rid of Jace. I'll tell you that now.
He's a good lad,
never get rid of Jace. Jace is just... We've just got such a good understanding. He's just the right coach for me. And when you find one like that, you just hold on to them.
Yeah, of course. Like, at being PTs, you know, like, clients stick with us, not just because what we can give them, but it's a vibe, it's a connection as well, right? It's like you become mates with your trainer. Yeah,
and he's never told me as well, like, I've had other coaches and stuff like that, who's, like, tried to make me just do one thing. But he's never done that. He's gone like, oh man, I wish he just... And I was like, don't go there.
Has he tried to pull you away from what you're doing?
No, it's not really, but he, like, respects it, and he's seen how far I've come in the last few years, and he's just been like, okay, cool, let me support you do this. How are we going to get better?
Yeah. And you have, so you've told me, but everyone else, you had an injury in your leg, right?
Yeah.
How much was the setback was that for your training?
Huge. Like, this time last year, just over a year ago, my S1 nerve completely just turned off. Like, imagine someone switching off a light, and that's exactly what happened. So 2 months before that, I broke my hand and wrist.
Fuck.
And I competed at the English Championships, got silver on it, and then...
With the broken...
Yeah.
Fucking hell, man. Jesus.
You know how we do.
Yeah.
So I didn't know it was broken, and then I found out, and I was like, okay, damn. Like, stepped back for 6-8 weeks, nearly went crazy, got back in training, everything was good. And I was a bit under the weather. Now we all know it was COVID.
Can't say that.
I know. And then I literally woke up, couldn't stand up, couldn't walk, had the worst pain.
That must have been petrifying. If your leg gives out and you don't know why, that must be fucking scary.
I had to, like, crawl to the toilet. Now I look back and see how far I've come. Like, it is mad. When I had, like, a nerve conduction test, the guy was like, I can't believe you're even standing. Like, he was like, your nerve is completely out. And then it came unpinged in... so there was a lot of setbacks because of lockdown, so all my appointments got cancelled and stuff like that. But I had to do, like, the most of the most by myself, physio via online, researching. And then in September, it unimpinged. And then from then to now, I can now feel my foot.
Yeah.
So 3 weeks ago was the first time I could feel my foot. In a year.
Fuck.
And they've been saying I'm like a walking miracle. They said they didn't think where I'm at now, didn't think it was going to be like this until another 2 years.
That's
so
nice.
All the lifting
shows your hard work.
The lifting you've been seeing me doing throughout lockdown, like, reason why I've been wearing Metcons and stuff like that is because I had no drive in my foot. So the nerve, you got to think about the nerve. It's like growing back, and it wasn't reaching to the bottom of my foot, so I had no drive. I couldn't go up on, like, one calf. I couldn't. They told me to stop, like, don't walk because it's going to damage your knee. Because I couldn't. Yeah. So I wasn't allowed to walk anywhere. And now, like, it's come back. Like, I think it was like 2 days ago. I, like, jogged 200 meters for the first time in a year. So it's all slowly coming back, and I'm just super excited.
That must build resilience though as well, knowing that it's took that long, and you're chipping away, and you're showing that after all this time. Yeah, to some people it might be, she only jogged 200 metres, but to you, that's I've just done 200 metres when I thought I couldn't run.
Yeah.
So it must be like a massive accomplishment, right?
Yeah, this year has been, like, listen, it's been a massive, massive blessing in disguise. Like, the growth I've done in this year, what I've learned, like, to have my legs taken away, that's like the only way I can like describe it. When I've been known to be squatting, the max I've squatted before was like 210, snatch 90,
200 and fucking
clean 110. Do you know what I mean? And then suddenly not to have that power to do that, jump over, like, my own head. Do you know what I mean? So suddenly not able to have that, not be able to sprint, not be able to walk, and, like, not be able to just dash around. It was the most scary experience ever. And
must have felt like you've been stripped of your superpowers, kind of thing, right? Like, you've just built up all of this, and then, like, setbacks always make you stronger. Exactly. Like, you're going to come back as well, you are coming back.
Yeah,
you're going to be a
better than
machine.
before. And all I done was, like, work on the things I did have control on, and that's, like, you know, technical work, realigning my body, and not just that, most importantly, my mind. Like, I had to stop and think, and I'd be like, okay, 2 injuries back to back, you've never had injuries, why? And I had to stop and think and admit, like, it's coming from inside. And I had to surrender. I was like, I surrender. Like, universe, I surrender. Tell me what I've got to learn. And then in that time, I went to counselling. So I had counselling, I learned the power of meditation, spiritual healing, just looking at everything. And then I've grown so much. In that time, if my leg didn't go the way it did, I would have thoroughly enjoyed lockdown. I would have just been train and eat, sleep, repeat. Yes, I did that, but I could only train for a certain period and only do certain things. So because of that, when people started the movement of Black Lives Matter, I was very awake and present to use my voice in a way that I could.
Yeah, I've seen some of your stuff. It was amazing.
And
it really was amazing.
Listen, Black Lives Matter, I've been preaching since the day I understood. I can remember the first time I learned about Martin Luther King and Benjamin Zephaniah. Do you know what I mean? When I was at senior school at the age of 12. So I've had a big understanding of what equality means and how we don't have it. So I guess I've always suppressed it to a certain degree, and especially on my Whylie Can Lift page, because I always thought people just wanted to see the athlete side of me. But when I started flipping it and showing my journey, my story, what I go through, my spoken word, and then that's when, number one, a lot of pressure was released off me. A lot of healing started. Yeah. And people were like, oh, wow, she's more than an athlete.
Absolutely. Much more than an athlete.
Yeah.
Definitely. So this weren't on the question, but I want to ask you, over the 3 lockdowns, how would you say you coped? Because the only reason I ask is because Charlie, the guy I work with as well, we didn't want to shout about it because obviously some people are really suffering, especially with this last lockdown. But I feel like I benefited loads through lockdown mentally. I was on the self-growth and I was just reading. I got loads of work done, learned about myself a lot more. How did you find it?
It's been one of the most hardest times, humbling experiences. And I believe it had to happen for me personally. I don't agree with the lockdown. That's different. That's different. But it's the first time ever I've fully stopped. The first time I stopped. So when you stop, you suddenly gain a lot more time. You suddenly have to be in a space with silence, no distractions. So it's been a roller coaster. Yeah. There's been good times where I've really embraced it, and times when I feel like all there is time and time and time. It's like long pauses of silence. But those long pauses in silence, definitely exposed me in ways I wouldn't have exposed myself. Yeah. And, the goal's always the same for me, but it's about who you have to become to reach that goal. And I think this last year, 18, my pandemic started when I broke my hand and wrist. I'm even that's when
that was my real pandemic.
And then that's when that started for me. So I'm
because
okay,
at the time it took away most of what you knew. It's fucking, this is my life, and then all of a sudden it's been pretty much stripped from you. It must have been harsh.
But business wise, it was scary. As you know, being self-employed. Of course,
it's you think, this is me fucked.
I don't think we've had enough help, but cool. But being self-employed, I went from a booming business to not earning as much. But also, again, it was a blessing in disguise, because now I'm leading down the road I wanted to lead down. Yeah. And it's
not how things work out, right? Yeah.
So it's would I ever have done it? Maybe not. But you've learned so much in this time. Connected with great people. 2020 just revealed people's flaws.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Highlighted weaknesses, flaws,
and the people around you as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Really highlighted who you should be having around you, and
absolutely,
and who you shouldn't.
Right. This is another one that's off the page. Actually, you're obviously top of your game, athlete. Could you picture yourself doing anything else, or let's scrap that? Actually, if you had to do something else, what would it be? Not training. Got to take everything athletic out the way.
Nah, that's actually easy for me. That's easy. I'm not trying to be an athlete for all my life. So, like I said, I've always worked in the arts. I've worked with some amazing people, amazing companies, and with that, I try to make change and use my voice. So, after I'm an athlete, I would love to work in equality, diversity, teaching the importance of it. So this is why I work so hard on my platform as an athlete. Yeah. So I can be seen and heard, and so it can go on to greater things later on.
Now, speaking about using your voice, tell me about some of the campaigns you've done, the work you're with, the projects you've done, like I just watched on the way here the Channel 4 documentary you've done, and that was fucking Jesus. That was like we can't, but I can't imagine how you must have felt. But let's talk about that.
Yeah, that.
If you don't mind, again, this is our podcast. You can tell me fuck off if you don't want to say anything, but if you want to open up and tell me, please do.
So for some people, me speaking out is new, and I had to explain like this is not new. You've just now seen it on Whylie Can Lift page. I think the first time I spoke out about something, I think I was 18. I did this. So you know how teachers have like those teacher learning days.
Yeah.
So I spoke at one of them on the importance of teaching the children in your classroom as equals.
Yeah, and this was when you was 18?
And this is when I was 18. I'm 30 now. So this is not an overnight. Yeah. I know, babyface. I
don't think it's right at all.
So this is how long it's been going on for. And the projects I've worked with, so I've worked with the Royal Shakespeare Company, how to make it more diverse within the audience. How are we going to get... Okay, so Shakespeare is something you've got to learn at school. How are we going to break it down? And that's when I started helping with bringing hip-hop into schools.
Yeah.
And I worked along with Carla. And then we worked in that field.
How was it like working with him?
Yeah, man, he's proper cool. He's just like one of the people I've worked with.
He seems very...
Yeah, I've worked with a few people, and everyone, we all want the same thing. So we then as well, I went on tour with a group called Urban Arts. The reason this group got together, because where I'm from is Bath, there was not a diverse theatre company that you didn't have to pay for.
Okay.
So there was one called YPT. I was very fortunate to have a scholarship to go into it, but it was very full of children who white privilege private school.
Yeah.
And then so there was nothing else for anyone else. When it comes to people who had like parents who separated, children of colour, minorities. So we created this one called Urban Arts, and we killed it. We went on tour for a year, and one of the places we went to was Edinburgh Fringe Festival, when we performed at the Underbelly, and we performed a piece called Max and Beth, Macbeth, written by Loki, the Iraqi rapper.
I don't know, I haven't seen.
Yeah, you'll know of Loki. If you saw him, you'll be like, all right.
Okay.
And then in that was all about, diversity within the arts.
Yeah.
So I've been doing this for a minute, but when I brought it onto Whylie Can Lift, it was me going...
It exploded, didn't it? Like,
yeah, it did. It went,
so many shares, which rightly so. I was just like, fuck.
Yeah, and how it started, I never thought I was going to ever bring my spoken word onto that platform. I feel like it's done so well. Your platform speaks of how you are. It's all hybrid. It's amazing. The way you've done that page now is just fucking sick. Now it's like, me. And it was something I was suppressing for a long time. And that's because a few years ago I got my confidence knocked in it. And then... But how the spoken word came about, it's because I called out Gymbox.
Okay, yeah.
Some people may know I used to work at Gymbox as a personal trainer. And I worked there for many years, on and off. And when the George Floyd thing was flagged up and Black Lives Matter movement, one thing I noticed, and I was like, Gymbox have not put anything.
Oh, really?
And I was like... And I remember like it was yesterday, and I was sat at home, and it was late. It was like 9 p.m, and I just had to do it. I just did his video, and I was like, Gymbox, like, we need you. And it was the most politest way I did it. The most, I don't preach in an angry way, because anger, people don't listen to that.
Of course. It's someone being angry is so easy to sort of shoo off and not actually pay attention to what's being said. So.
I've done my angry stage. I've been angry, right? So I'm not going to do that now. I understand that, as humans, we're complicated. And I understand that you can't always hear what someone is saying, no matter how we say it. You can't relate because you're not in that space.
Yeah.
So when I try to talk, I always try and remember that. So I done this video, and I was like, I know this can ruin my career. I know that this can backfire me, but it didn't.
Fair play, you stepped up, that's brave.
So like when I did that, that's when other gyms
it shouldn't even be that you're being brave. It should just be expected. But it is brave that you've done it, because a lot of people would have. So
I did,
fair play.
I didn't feel like I felt comfortable if I sat back and said nothing. So I was like, this is more than me. This is about my ancestors who did the work before me, and about the ones who's going to do the work after me. And this is my time, it's my path to speak. So I just said, like, Black Lives Matter, you have cleaners who are black, you have management, PTs, members, and you feel like it's okay not to speak out. But you spoke about NHS, you spoke about pride, and other things, mental health. Anyway, it didn't get no response straight away, and then I had one of the co-owners call me up, and listen, the way his reply was disgusting. He was like, "Don't you think you should have spoke to me about this first?" And I was like, "The fact that if I had to reach out to you, it means you've already failed." And it was, you know, and it was an on and back and forward conversation where I had to keep my cool and hold my ground. And the first thing I said was like, "I do not apologise for the post, and the reason why I do not apologise is, number one, you should have done it, and number two, mate, I had hundreds of messages from members, PTs, and staff who worked at Gymbox, all like from backgrounds, and telling me their stories. He couldn't quite understand why I did it, and I was like, listen, I was like, are you a black female? And he was like, sorry. And I was like, are you a black female? He was like, well, of course I'm not. I was like, just let me educate you on what it's like to be a black female. He was like, educate me? How can you educate me? And I was like, yeah. Hell. So number one, he didn't realise my age. Yeah. And he didn't realise my education. I think he just saw me as a PT who'd done a 6-week course and come work in Gymbox. Yeah. No. What little did he know is that I've been doing this for a minute and I've got education.
Yeah.
And I said to him, listen, you can educate me on what it's like to be a white male. Let's start there. Yeah. And then the penny dropped. And he was like, but there's black people amongst mental health. And I was like, listen, no. When it comes to black people and mental health, black people are seen as crazy. When it comes to black people and pride, there's a black pride the next day. And I was like, when it comes to black people in the NHS, the black people are seen as the cleaners. And I was like, now tell me we're equal. When actually, there's black doctors, but we never get to see them. When there is black gay people who have don't have equality within their own community of being LGBTQ. And when it comes to mental health, we're never seen as we need help, we're ill. We're always seen as the crazy black man around the corner shouting out in the middle of Brixton. When you had to layer these things, and that's when my first spoken word piece came out on Let Me Educate You. Because it was his words without me saying his name. And then from that, I started getting interviews with loads of different people. Bath, like I said, I'm from Bath. And they were doing a Black Lives Matter protest, a very silent one, a respectful one. Like, shout out to the people who organised that. They've done such a good job. And they invited me down, and I felt a way of going down at first. But I was like, okay, here we go. Let's go. Let's talk. From that, I got invited to the Bristol one. From that, that's when Channel 4 started doing it. I did that. And then all these things started opening up. Everything I've done, like I did get called out by one person at Gymbox saying if I done what I done for attention and to be seen on social media. Social media was my last thing. What I did was step into my power and my voice and use it for those around me who cannot speak out because out of fear, because they don't feel comfortable to.
That's amazing. Fair play, you're using your voice. Fucking rightfully so. Talk to me about the, because that one, it touched me, and obviously I've never gone through it. So talk to me about the Channel 4 programme you've done. Get your knee off my neck.
Yeah, that wasn't easy. So
that was fucking hard. Like watching it, and I'm not just saying it, as a white man watching it, it was still fucking hard. So yeah, I can't even understand what you must have felt.
Yeah. So you know, Black Lives Matter for a lot of people brought up a lot of stuff we deliberately forgotten and suppressed. And that was definitely me. I got sent over, you know, from a number of people saying, Channel 4 looking for people, Channel 4 looking for people. And then, anyway, the woman reached out and I was like, yeah, let's talk. And she was like, tell me your first experience of racism. And I told her. And then she was just like, what? And then it just went from there. And they came and recorded. So, yeah, my first experience from racism was from my own family. It was from my granddad on my dad's side. So my mum is black. So she's half Jamaican, Portuguese and Bayesian. And my dad is white English, blonde hair, blue eyes. And, you know, another stereotype thing, people always think that it's a black man and a white woman, but no, it's the other way around. And then, so on my dad was, you know, he's very young at the time. He already had 3 children and now his first black child, and his dad just didn't like it. So I can remember going around there and just having racial slurs said to me.
How old was you?
Yeah, I was like 4 years old, 3 years old, and when he was like, get this nigger off my land, and that's the one that's on the Channel 4 documentary, and yeah, that's the reality of being a mixed race child. It's not always all roses.
Of course.
So I obviously had no relationship with him, but that stuck with me throughout my life. I didn't have a relationship with my dad, so I always thought I was never good enough, and I just thought that was norm. But I always want to point out as well, like, even though I had that relationship, I've never seen like white people as the bad. I never seen it as a race war. Some of the people where I am now is because of some brilliant white people who believed in me, like elders, before I believed in myself, and they just guided me. But also, they made me understand that the world is like that. The world.
But that shows how great your character is, because the fact that was happening to you at 4, that could have ingrained like a really
100%
bad vision of like, so it's fucking fair play, man. That's a strong mindset, so fair play.
But I always say you get to an age and we're all out in the world by ourselves that you should be able to make it understanding. We can all blame our upbringing, we can all blame the people around us, but that's never going to get you anywhere. But yeah, that Channel 4 documentary, it was tough, it was hard, it brought back a lot of memories, but I was just so grateful that I was going through counselling at the same time. And then that's when I realised, like, from this moment forward, this is what I've got to continue doing. I've got to continue being a culture activist. I've got to keep using my voice.
I said to Nez and I said to Insa as well, don't you dare take your foot off the gas, ever. You've got to keep this rolling now. Fucking, you're empowering, you're inspiring a lot of people, so just keep it going.
Standard, like you saw that post, what I spoke about.
Like in the fitness industry, I wanted to go round to this as well, because the fitness, the fitness industry is shocking, and it is shocking. Like I'll say it, like a lot of studios, they will hire a really good looking mixed race girl, or you never really see a black guy or a black woman. You never really do you?
Well, listen. So
especially not in the class instructing environment. Like you don't. And it's fucked up that you never see it.
So there's obviously reasons why. So first of all, like once I called out Gym Box, other gyms started responding to that, and that's when they started doing posts.
Yeah.
After that's when brands started seeing, and then they started doing posts. Cool, brilliant, amazing. You're jumping on the hype. I'm never going to sit here and say, oh, you should have done that before, because that's not going to get us anywhere. It's about, steps. And if I had to speak out and other people had to speak out for them to do these things, that's cool. That's progress. That's awareness. But let's look deeper inside. So, yes, I always put my hands up and go, listen, I'm a light-skinned girl. I could be getting light-skin privilege. But when I was brought up in Bath, I'm seen as black. I'm not seen as light-skinned, right? But in London, yes, it's light-skin privilege. So if a black person comes to me and they say I got light-skin privilege, I always accept that. But I do everything I do in my power to make sure black people and people of colour and different religions and backgrounds are seen the way white people are seen. But yeah, I call myself black because that's how society sees me. But so when it comes to the brands, it is, influencers, for example. White influencers get paid more than black influencers.
Really?
Yes.
Fucking hell.
I'll send you the stats later.
This is what I like about this podcast. Educate me, because I didn't fucking know that at all.
It's not even just a little bit. It's a lot. Wow. It's a lot, right? So when it comes to the fitness industry, they want us to represent your country. You want us to represent your football teams, but you don't want to pay us. You don't want to put us on, the front of a magazine. They'll pick a black male, before they would pick a black female, because a black male is still seen as more appealing because he's a male, right? So the male has always got the upper hand before the female, still. And then when it comes to classes and things like that, they will put a light-skinned girl on, put a light-skinned girl on a poster, because again, it's appealing to the eye. And that's come down from years before now, where it's like, it's not even just in this country, like in Asia, it was like the lighter you're seen,
I've heard this. Yeah, I've actually heard this. Like the darker your skin over there means you're out working, shittier jobs or something like. Yeah, I've heard this. It's fucking messed up, man. Honestly, it's so messed up. Like.
So it's so deeply rooted and ingrained within our society that people can't help but judge still from that, because it's so ingrained in them from years and years and years and years of work. So my thing right now is black girls, black boys, them, they, she, he, go and apply for the jobs. What are there? Go to the receptions. We have to do the work as well. We can't wait for it to come to us. We have to also represent ourselves.
But I love the point that you made about if you've got like a white manager who then goes and asks a white colleague to try and find you a black employee. No, it shouldn't work like that. You should be trying to ask black employees for jobs and stuff like that. So
it's just simple. Just put the job out there.
Yeah,
Stop
exactly.
trying to hire from within. And obviously, like this year, I've been very blessed to work with two big brands, and we're in March. There's two ways that we can look at this. It's because of Black Lives Matter, and they're looking for black faces. I'm very aware of that. That could be why.
Wow,
but also, I've done the work. But also done the work.
Shift. Yeah,
I've also done the work. I've also done the work. But also, you've got to be realistic. And I've got to understand that some of my black brothers and sisters are going to see it that way. Like, she's only getting now because of, and if that is the thing, what I'm here to say is, what I do it for us, and I will keep talking about what I'm talking about, no matter what brand I'm wearing, no matter what brand I'm working with. And if the brands don't like it, then that is their loss.
Good. You say that to them straight away.
Of course.
Yeah,
they know the deal. They know the deal.
Lovely.
And they've respected me highly, and one other brand I'm working with at the moment, they wanted me to write my post in a certain way. And I sent back and I went, this is whitewashed. I'm not saying this. This is not me.
Good. Because it's not. It takes away from your personality, and that's not what your page should be about. Your page should be sort of a mirror of how you are. Yeah, exactly.
And I'm apologetically me, and I'm going to continue being that. But yeah, it's good to see that brands are starting to step in and to a little bit more. And I'm not going to knock that down and diss it, but so much more can be done.
So much more needs to be done.
So much more. And that's where I come in. And every time I'm trying to say use this person, do this person, share this person's work, and that's all we can continue to do.
Of course. So obviously the brands you're working with, you obviously believe in.
Yeah.
Can you talk about the brands you're working with at the moment?
Yeah. So I just done a huge campaign with Gymshark. I never thought I would have done anything with Gymshark. They know this. We had a conversation about this, and big props to them. They are doing a lot of change to make their brand more inclusive, and that's across everything. Even when you're there as a black woman, male, and getting your hair done, they're making sure they have someone who can do black hair. Good. So little small changes like that are happening. So that campaign comes out on 25th of March, so watch out for that. I can't say much more about that.
No, of course. I don't want to put you in it.
Yeah.
I see you rocking the Puma top.
Yes. So
we can talk about that now.
We can talk about that.
There you go. Let's fire away. How'd you get on with them?
Yeah, man. They literally, I was on my way out to Dubai and on an athlete invite, and boom, in my emails, I got Puma.
Oh, was this when? Oh, so when I saw you training out there, that's when this.
Yeah, it happened. Yeah. So.
Wicked.
Been a pipeline for a minute, and obviously I just announced it not long ago. And yeah, Puma has come to me, and listen, for an athlete, for a trainer, this is like a dream come true, because to be working with such a huge brand, being a female, you've got to work twice. Being a black female, you've got to work 3 times. So, there's some influence out there who's just getting brands and stuff coming through their door like no one's business. So when this came to my at my feet, I was like, this is my blessings. This is my hard work.
This is what you deserve.
This is what I deserve. This is what I've worked for. And honestly, Puma have just been amazing so far. And they just even on the way they pay to your value, and we're working alongside each other. And so much more exciting stuff is
coming out.
Yeah, it's coming.
I look forward to seeing it.
So,
I look forward to it. You are also with Science in Sports, right?
Yes, I am. Yeah,
Jesus,
yeah.
just representing. So how did you get on with them?
So Stephen Moon, the CEO, came up to me one time I was training. He was like, "You need us, and more importantly, we need you."
Yeah.
And me and him, we spoke about this, especially when the Black Lives Matter came about. And he's just been amazing with trying to understand it and get together. And we spoke openly about it. And I said to him, "Listen, when you first came up to me about being an ambassador, I thought it was a joke." And he was like, "What?" And I was like, "I'm black, like, and I'm in a strength sport." And he was like, "Tell me."
Man, the fact that you had to say that is fucking messed up.
Yeah.
Man. It is messed up.
He was like, "Tell me more." And I was like, "Have you ever looked at your Instagram page?" I was like, "There's no black faces on there." And I was like, "You're telling me there's no..." Because science of sports is very much known for endurance.
Yeah.
So cycling, triathlons, running, and then PhD as well. And I was like, you telling me there's no black long distance runners? No black cyclists.
Most of the best athletes in the world
are
black.
And it made the penny drop. But the thing is, he didn't come and attack. He listened, he heard, and then they started sponsoring people like the Black Cycling Network and stuff like that. And he just been amazing with trying to like understand and educate and make the reason and make the change. And it's no fault of him. It's no fault of the people who work around him, because what they had done, they just put faces they knew, they understood, they recognised. But so for them it's norm.
So it's
for
nice because you challenge
good.
them. You challenge them to make the change. So it's what they needed.
Yeah. But when I'm looking at the page, I don't see a face like mine. And then that's when the penny dropped and they understood. And since then, they've just gone leaps and leaps, and we have a great connection and understanding. I'm so blessed to be like working with a brand who wants to be moving with the times. So this is when it comes into like, I started cycling as well. And that's because I'm trying to change the face of so many sports what don't have black athletes.
I love this.
So the younger generation feel like they can come up into it.
So this is random, but I do want to move on from there. But you said you had your confidence knocked. By who and why? Do you want to talk about that? Who do I need to beat up? What happened?
So, listen, it happens in times, right? Growing up, I didn't have a lot of confidence anyway.
Do you find that your like training has built a lot of confidence for you? Because it did for me. I was like this. I was a blob growing up. I was a proper chunky kid, and then like training just built a lot of confidence for me. So it helped me loads.
Yeah, like definitely. Like growing up, I've always been very introvert, shy. They used to call me mute child. I wouldn't speak.
Really? You was introvert?
Yeah, very. I still can be certain times. It's just sometimes you don't see me for a minute. Do you know what I mean? And they'd be like, "What's happened to Whylie?" He's like that. Just on the episode.
Just snatching 200 kilos somewhere.
But like things like happen like, just wrong people, wrong time, and they just didn't believe in what I was doing with like the music. I was doing really well. Like my stuff was getting played on like Radio 1 Extra and things like that. It was had like a lot of good response in America. And when you're around people that don't like that because theirs is not going as well, they want to knock you down. And that's just what happened to me. And I just generally thought what I'm doing is not good. I don't think I'm good. And and I had this big problem with like what I was doing, how I looked, and everything like that. And then
it spirals, doesn't it? Once you get once in your head,
exactly, it's like a domino effect. And then I had to catch myself, and I had to do a lot of self work in that way. And then, but thankfully, come out the other side of it. And
of course, you did. Fucking hell, killing it. Absolutely
found my voice. But yeah, like definitely training's definitely helped that. Some people might say it's wrong, but I always say strong body, strong mind, because yes, you should ideally sort out your mental health first, but some of us can't face it.
No,
straight away. We can't face it straight away. So we think, okay, how can I go into like the position where I can face it? And for me, it was training.
I've gone a complete U-turn. So I used to be able to, nothing would bother me once I was in the gym. 2 hours, I'd forget everything. Like nothing would bother me. As I've got a little bit older, it's now I need my head clear to then go and do a good session. It's completely changed.
So now you see the importance of it.
Of course. It's like you need them both in tune. Eventually, they need to be like one.
Yeah, then there's no stopping you.
Exactly.
Yeah, definitely.
So in regards to your training and your career, what next? I mean, I know there's loads coming up, but where would you like to see yourself? Competing wise, work wise?
So yeah, no doubt I'm going to hit the biggest games in the world. Like that's, I'm tired of being the underdog.
Yes.
I'm stepping up now.
Yes. This makes me want to level up. When I hear shit like this, I'm like, yes, go on, talk to me.
Before I would never say that out loud. But there's big talks that are going on at the moment with like who I'm going to be competing for. I'm not going to say that right now. That'll be another time. It's just everything's just being finalised right now. So yeah, the goal is Commonwealth Games, World, Olympics. Sick. Like it's not easy. I respect everyone who's been doing it longer than me. it takes years to become a master.
Of course.
But I put the hours and days and times, and I'm going to continue. So that's where I'm going, yeah. And hopefully start racing and cycling as well. I've got a great team behind me with that. So it's coming.
Everything.
It's taking
I
man.
love it.
Yeah.
And then in regards to with getting the message out about educating people about all the racial tension that goes on and so much more, what do you think the next move is there? How can we educate more people? What message could you put out there?
I'd be like, listen, just stop relying on us to educate you. Stop relying on books.
Yeah.
Try and, if you really want to learn, listen. Just listen. And by listening can go a long way. You've probably got a good mate next to you who is of a colour, and you've never asked them about their experience and what they're feeling. And I'll just say, ask and speak, and that's how we're going to move forward. And if you're in a workplace and there is discrimination, stop being silent about it, because silence is not going to help nobody. Start standing up for one another.
Good. I like that. So I always finish every episode with, what is your definition of happiness? Yeah. So tell me, what's yours?
So my definition of happiness is generally waking up feeling that I'm in the right place within myself. So, like,
That was slick, isn't it? That was slick. Normally people freeze up on that one. That was slick. Okay.
No, it comes from within, man. If you're happy with everything about you from inside out, then that is definition of happiness.
Yeah, you just ooze it, wouldn't you? You did ooze this next kind of confidence. So, humour, Gymshark, science in sports, powerlifting, racing, fucking ollie lifting, educating as many as you can as you're doing all of this. Yeah. Whylie can lift. Whylie can fucking do everything. That's the end of the episode. Thank you so much for coming on. That was an absolute pleasure. Boom.